In this recording we're going to look at a special method called the constructor, and what I've decided to do from this point forward is to keep the classes and the logic separate in separate files, which is good programming practice. So I've created a chapter 2 folder which is inside the OO.php folder, and in there I've started out by creating a Constructors PHP file. So if you get yourself up to this point, all I'm going to do to start off is create an empty web page. So if you're using Visual Studio Code like me, you can just do exclamation mark and then tab, and it'll produce an empty HTML page. Otherwise, just do an opening and closing HTML tags and also body tags, and inside there I've got opening and closing PHP tags. Anyway, this is the example I'm going to use for this particular one. This is the discussion tab on my YouTube page. As you can see, it's made up of comments which have various properties such as text, and you have a user, you have a date or time when it was posted, various little things such as thumbs up, like, thumbs down. I'm going to base my initial work around this text property, as that is what you could say is the primary property for a comment. And so in the same folder, the chapter 2 folder, I'm now going to create a comment class, and this will be dedicated just to holding the comment class and its properties, methods, etc., and no other PHP code will go in there. So comment PHP, we need our opening PHP tags, and we've created classes before. All you need to do is use the class keyword, then comment, opening and closing braces, then we'll add that text property, and after that we'll add a constructor method. So what is one of those? Here's a description from someone that I learnt from. You'll use constructors to do whatever should always be done, and done first when an object of this class is made. So what we're saying is that whenever you say new comment, then the constructor method will be called, and whatever code is inside that constructor method will be executed. The way we create a constructor is like this: 2 underscores, so underscore underscore construct, open and closing brackets, and then the rest of it is just like any other method. And we call a constructor a magic method, so it's one of a series of special PHP methods. And what I'm doing here is setting the text property of the comment. So thinking of the description I've just shown you, whatever should be done and done first. I think it's fair to say that a comment will always need some text, so that should always be done. Whether it should be done first is arguable, but this is a pretty good use case and a fairly realistic one. So we pass in text into the constructor, and then we set that property using that variable. And this is easily the most common usage of constructors that you'll see, i.e. setting properties on objects. Occasionally you'll call other methods, but setting properties is your main one. Let's now go over to Constructors PHP, and this is where we're going to add our logic. So first we need to pull in the comment class, and we do that by requiring the comment PHP file. And then what we're going to do is create a comment. So comment equals new comment. And if you recall from our previous objects that we created, we've got these opening and closing parentheses, and you've probably wondered what they're for. So this is where we actually pass in our constructor arguments. So if we didn't have any constructor arguments, we wouldn't actually need these parentheses, but it's quite a common practice to include them anyway, even if they're empty. So what we're going to do here is pass in our comment text. So just make up anything. This is some comment text will do. Then all we're going to do to demonstrate this is just echo out the text property on our newly created comment object. So echo comment right arrow text. Then I'm going to go and make sure that my server's running. So if you're doing the same as me, I'm going to move from the OO.php folder into the chapter 2 folder, and then I'm going to start up my PHP's built-in server. And you can copy the command that you see on the screen, which is php-S localhost :8000, which I'll copy and paste in, followed by /constructors comment.php, and there we go. So there's our echoed text. I'll bump it up so you can see it. This is some comment text. So far so good. Now it's your turn to have a little go. Obviously there'll need to be some way of connecting the comment to a user, and the way we're going to do that is by having a user ID attribute, which will be numeric. An attribute just means the same thing as property, it can also be called class variable. So we'll add the user ID to the comment constructor as a second parameter, and then when we instantiate the comment we need to include the user ID when we pass it into the opening and closing parentheses. Then we just need to remove the echo statement, and I want you to add a paragraph where you echo out the text and the user ID, and then go and check your work in the browser. So here's my solution. I'd encourage you to give it a go, but here's what you need to do. So I've took my comments and I've pasted them because I like to keep track of what I'm doing. First we need to create a public property for the user ID. I'll delete my comments as I go along, my instructions. Then you pass that into the constructor as the second parameter. And obviously you need to set the user ID property to that variable. All very straightforward, and you'll do this stuff day in, day out. A lot of the times it doesn't get any more complicated than this. So this user ID equals user ID. Again, we'll clean up our comments, and now we just need to go over to the Constructors PHP file, which is where we add our logic. And all we're saying here is that we want to remove the echo statement and actually create a paragraph in the HTML. So we'll add our second argument. So we're just going to give it a user ID of 10. So you pass that into the parentheses as the second param there. And then we're going to move outside of the opening and closing PHP tags and create a paragraph. Opening PHP tags. And so I'm echoing out the comment text. Then I want to use our new user ID property. So I'll say bye. And then I'll add my opening and closing PHP tags. And then same again here, I'm just going to echo that out. So comment, right arrow, user ID. That's all we need to do. Back to the browser, give that a refresh. This is some comment text by 10. So we'll change that to by a user 10. Give that a refresh. Excellent. So just a quick recap in case that went a bit fast. So comment text, the text was passed into our comment constructor as the first argument. Then we said by user. And then we echoed out comment user ID, and the user ID was passed in as the second argument. And so like I said about constructors, they are used to do whatever should be done and done first. So it's fair to say that you'll always need to say who owns the comment, i.e. who created the comment, and a comment will always need some text. So this is a very good example of a constructor's usage. In the next one, I'm going to introduce inheritance, which is a vital concept in object-oriented programming, and it's one of the things that makes it so effective. In the meantime, if you're not already a subscriber and you would like YouTube to show you more of my stuff, all you need to do is subscribe and click the little notification icon. I'll see you in inheritance.